Hello YouTube. The story of the so-called alien Alyoshinka, found by a resident of the Kaolinowy village of Kishtim, Chelyabinsk region in the Ural Mountains, Tamara Prasvirina, on August 13, 1996. That story is really worthy of a cool detective novel. The generally accepted account is that Tamara Vasilievna Prasvirina, a mentally ill woman, heard a call at night. She got out of the bed and went outside. There was a powerful thunderstorm, heavy rain, thunder and lightning. Again, we're speaking about the Ural Mountains, okay? But the woman kept on walking. The call led her to an overgrown cemetery where under one of the trees she saw a creature looking at her with huge eyes and unblinking gaze. The creature was making sorrowful cries. I will refer to that creature as it, for reasons explained later. Tamara Vasilievna Prasvirina wrapped it in the hem of her nightgown, pressed it to her chest, and so brought the creature home. The little man warmed up. With a spoon she gave it milk and put a caramel candy in its mouth. The dying organism was revived a little bit. She called it Alyosha. Well, in Russian it's like a diminutive name for Alexei or Alexei. So they began to live together in one house. Eyewitnesses, many of whom are still alive and well, recall that the body of this creature was plump, with light, smooth skin covered with thin, sparse hairs. There were no holes or sexual characteristics or traits on the torso completely. There wasn't even a navel. Everything was smooth like a doll. That's what the eyewitnesses say. The arms stretched almost to the knees, 5 long, thin fingers ending in small claws. The legs were practically the same. It seemed that having strength and health, this creature could walk with equal confidence on both 2 and 4 limbs. Nevertheless, the physique looked quite proportional, and even a large head did not spoil this impression. Let's talk about the head separately. It was a kind of a bud or sprout crowned with 4 petals. The skull was tower-shaped, consisted of 4 bones, occipital, frontal, and 2 parietal temporal. Moreover, there was no clear separation between the temporal and parietal bones. The peculiarities of the structure of the skull also include the fact that the brain section prevailed over the facial one. The small face had 2 large, expressive eyes, without eyelashes and eyebrows. These eyes did not blink, but at times, as it were, went deep into the body and then came back, sometimes and closed like feline eyes. All those who saw Alyosha with mystical fear claimed that its look was quite meaningful. When strangers came, Alyoshinka started making inarticulate sounds, whistling, reacted by turning its arms and legs, and carefully examined the visitor. Its mouth was small, just a slit without lips, but inside there was a rather strong and long red tongue, with which it lapped up milk and water. For a month of life at the Prasvirina, it has already learned to turn on its side and drink from a bowl. There were also 2 white teeth. The nose was a small raised skin fold. The ears were simple holes without shells. The cylindrical head, there was a helmet-like expansion from the bottom up, but at about the level of the forehead it was noticeably decomposed into 4 petals, superimposed on each other. That is, the cranial structure of the creature resembled a tulip bud or water lilies. The top of the portrait, it should be noted, well, to complete the portrait of the creature, it should be noted that its entire height was 20 to 25 centimeters. So, Tamara Vasilyevna intensely nursed the foundling, telling everyone that she had a son, Alyoshinka, whom she would give her last name and register it in her apartment. And one day she was put in a psychiatric hospital. Technically, this happened from time to time to her, and therefore it didn't cause a shadow of a surprise to anyone. Of course, no one remembered about the mysterious creature in the care of this patient, and they didn't even want to listen to her. She was uttering crazy nonsense. I'm assuming we're speaking about the hospital. It is known that at times Tamara Vasilyevna, whose son was serving a criminal sentence or sentence for criminal activities in a prison not too far away, she had a man from a neighboring village of Bezhelyak by the name of Vladimir Nurdinov, who also possessed criminal tendencies. He did not live constantly with Tamara Vasilyevna, but just happened to be visiting occasionally. So he came to the empty apartment. At first he felt a sharp, sweet smell, and then Nurdinov saw Alyosha in the crib. The corpse of the creature was already decomposing. Maggots were crawling all over it. The man, having overcome his squeamishness, shook off all this filth, and not sparing his bottle of vodka, washed the body with it. Then, wrapped in a rag, he took the remains to his village nearby and put them on the roof of the garage, so the sun would dry the creature. Nurdinov then hid the mummified body in the closet. Why he did all this is hard to imagine, but it is he who can be called the progenitor of Alyosha's public history. The fact is that Vladimir got caught stealing an electric cable in the neighboring village of Novogorny. The captain of the Karabash police department, investigator Yevgeny Makichov, took him to the crime scene to show him where, how, and what Vladimir cut. Note that, please do understand that in those years, the era of mature socialism in the Soviet Union, the theft of everything containing non-ferrous metals was a widespread phenomenon. Cables were cut off almost at every step. While they were driving here and there, the suspect and the policeman, they started talking to each other. It happens that friendly relations develop between small crooks and policemen. Nurdinov then half-jokingly, half-seriously suggested, "Commander, why don't you let me out? I'll give you an alien. Have you seen aliens?" When the policeman realized that the detainee was not joking about the dead body, they went to Nurdinov's house. Then the alien Alyoshinka reappeared from the closet, from an old rag. He was dried up, still slightly emitting a sweet chemical smell. Makichov took away the body, and then he reported the discovery to his superior, Major Vladimir Bendlin. The unidentified corpse aroused both operational and just human interest in the local police. For scientific advice, the police major turned to specialists, to experts who comprised the consultation team of sorts. Local pathologist Stanislav Samoshkin, gynecologist Irina Yermolaeva, and urologist Igor Uskov. The examination came to the conclusion: this is not a human being. Let me summarize. No official examination of the Kishtim dwarf mummy, as it came to be called, has been conducted. The mummy was unofficially examined by specialists only once. This was done on the initiative of the police investigator. After examining the dried remains, the local pathologist and the forensic expert present at the examination considered them to be incompatible with human ones. However, the head of the gynecological department and the head of the department of urology unequivocally identified the mummy as the result of the premature human birth with congenital deformity syndrome. In the vicinity of Kishtim, such cases are known because of the radioactive release that occurred in 1957 at the Mayak chemical plant. This was a huge disaster in the Urals in the Soviet times, and of course it was all hushed up. Anyway, there were no reasons to initiate a criminal case, but Bendlin opened the case unofficially. He identified a circle of people who knew about the creature and, just like in any other criminal case, conducted a series of interrogations, recording them on photos and video cameras. It is his filming that is the only living evidence of the existence of this humanoid. But at a certain stage, the investigation reached a dead end. Yes, there are witnesses. There is a corpse, and who will identify this corpse? Vladimir Bendlin's friend, firefighter Rais Zheludinov, said that in Kamensk-Uralsky, Sverdlovsk region, there is a UFO society called the UFO Star Academy. Contact by the Zolotov method. Complex name. And by the way, you do know what Sverdlovsky region is if you watch my videos about the Dyatlov Pass group. Okay. So, this UFO Academy seemed to be an authoritative organization, experts in such matters. Well, the ufologists arrived on site and took Alyosha for further research, and then it disappeared. Then both amateurs and professionals were engaged in the search for this alien mummy. I remember the Japanese TV Asahi stirred up the whole world by showing a film about this alien found in Russia. The Japanese have promised $200,000 to whoever finds it, but apparently they were cheap in their offer. There were rumors that ufologists who took him sold Alyoshinka to a Kamensk-Ural criminal big shot. Although the head of that UFO organization, Galina Semenkova, immediately claimed that the body of the humanoid was promptly seized by the FSB, the successor to the KGB in modern Russia, and that the criminal boss then was dispatched to the prison. And then the FSB officers seized the body from the police. They handed over the material evidence to one of the Russian research institutes. Perhaps it was a research institute engaged in the study of radiation exposure problems located in the vicinity of Ozyorsk. And according to another account, it went to the Sverdlovsk Research Institute, leading research in the field of biological weapons. In favor of the arguments about the participation of the FSB, it says that everyone who contacted Alyosha before and after his death was questioned in detail by the employees of the secret police, as some refer to FSB. They also got acquainted with all photo and video materials collected by Major Bendlin. Separately, we should note that Alyosha's adopted mother, Tamara Prasvirevna, died on the eve of the arrival of the Japanese TV crews under very strange circumstances. Late in the evening on August 5, 1999, she left the house without shoes, just in her stockings. Our neighbors saw two cars rushing from different directions converge in the place where the woman was standing. They were like scissors, and then they disappeared after the scene of the accident. The drivers have not been found so far. By the way, in 2002, a piece of the cloth was suddenly discovered in which Alyosha was wrapped for a long time. Experts of the Institute of General Genetics of the Russian Academy of Sciences have isolated from this piece the tissue of the DNA of a person with numerous developmental disabilities. According to some Russian researchers, the last mention of Alyosha can be traced to the Flying Saucer Review magazine in the year 2001. However, it says that this is a different creature caught and killed near the town of Sapinas on the southern eastern coast of Puerto Rico. That Professor Calixto Perez bought it from a guy named the Chinese, although it is almost impossible to imagine such a similar mummification of a certain living beings. The scientist's container with a strange creature was confiscated by police officer Osvaldo Santiago. Local businessman Rafael Baerga took several pictures in the presence of witnesses, but Professor Perez came to the police station, raised scandal, saying that he had bought it from the Chinese and demanded to immediately return his property. The alien was returned to him, but soon the professor discovered that the container with the body and all the photos had disappeared from the cache. However, there is certain collector of the aliens who has all of the Alyosha of the world in his home collection, and some of which we have not heard of at all. However, according to some sources, on October 2003, a collector of artifacts of Indian history named Oscar Munoz explored the abandoned Chilean town of La Noria, which is located about 56 kilometers from the town of Iquiche in the Atacama Desert, and that there he found a bundle with a small humanoid mummy. Its length was about 15 centimeters, and outwardly it had good preservation. Even hard teeth were present. Two unusual features caught the eye. Firstly, there are only 9 pairs of ribs, unlike the 12 usual for humans. Secondly, what is more remarkable is the greatly elongated skull of the mummy. The creature resembled a classic movie alien. For this reason, the find was called the Atacama humanoid. As you can see, this is almost an exact copy of the Kishtim Alyoshinka, as people say. Later, Oscar Munoz sold his find to the owner of a local pub for about $60. He in turn resold it to its current owner, Spanish businessman Ramon Navia Osorio, at a price possibly reaching $160,000. So the Atacama humanoid ended up in a private collection in Barcelona. For such money, you will agree, even Russian Alyoshinka would fly to a private collection with great speed. Well, however, according to published data, scientists conducted a genetic analysis of the exact copy of the Kishtim dwarf, the alien Ata from Chile, whose body resembles the body of Alyosha and his Puerto Rican counterpart, down to the details. It's the same disproportionate complexion and a strange elongated skull. Scientists have published their research and there were gratitude to have the available remains of Ata. The conclusions shattered the position of local residents who considered Ata to be an alien. So it turned out that Ata, like obviously its brothers from Kishtim and Sapinos, was not a humanoid but actually a human. However, with a whole collection of mutations, it was found out that the alien was female, that he, or rather she, appeared no earlier than 500 years ago, and that her ancestors were local residents. Characteristic signs of Chiloé Indians were found in the DNA from the bones. The alien embryo had 64 potentially harmful genetic variants. These were substitutions in the DNA sequence. There were substitutions in the DNA sequence of one genetic letter to another. Some of the substitutions have never been found by geneticists before. 4 of them were found in genes that regulate bone growth, and 2 more in genes that control the synthesis of the collagen protein, which is actually necessary for bones and cartilage. And just in case, let's clarify, the genes in questions have been known for a long time due to the mutations that get into them. The ribs may be shorter, and in general the skeleton grows slower than normal. the journal Science and Life reported with the reference to publication in genome research. Using her example, the researchers found out that Alyosha is not some kind of an extraterrestrial being. The researchers conducted a full analysis of Atta. As a result of the work, it was found that the mummy is an ordinary human child who was not full term or died immediately after birth. At the same time, according to scientists, the unusual appearance of mummies is explained by a number of genetic mutations which are associated with anomalies in the development of the skull and the skeleton. So, according to genetics, the Chilean humanoid, even in the womb, was diagnosed with incompatible with life, cranio-ectodermal dysplasia, Greenberg skeletal dysplasia, congenital hernia of the diaphragm, microcephaly, Kabuki syndrome, and so forth. Most likely, Atta was born before the due date and died immediately after birth. Now, the genetics have put so-called dots over the letter I. The hype around the aliens to the skeptics may subside. However, for sure, there will be those who will say that since scientists have analyzed the remains of a creature only similar to Alyosha, then the result of their research have nothing to do with the Kishtim or Puerto Rican stories. Look, the Russian so-called alien was seen alive and even sucking candy. And there are skeptics who believe that medical data can be fake, misleading the public for some purpose. Well, apparently there was another discovery in 2018 which was made by Klaus Donna, a hunter of ancient artifacts specializing in Central America, which adds fuel to the fire. He put on display to the public several items he found in one of the caves of Mexico. Klaus Donna himself believes that these objects made of stone are about 7,000 years old. And it is important to us that all these Alyoshas have an indisputable similarity with which it's confirmed by recorded evidence. And what is it? Gene mutations, man-made fakes, or indeed the facts of the existence of aliens? Time will tell. Look, the Russian Alyosha story is very unusual, because why would that witness have to be killed? And we still don't know who has the body of Alyosha, and I'm not sure how much the researchers in the Urals or Russia will be able to find out, but it is a strange story. So I'll continue to bring more strange stories and fascinating stories to you, and if you like my research, please do support me. You can see the links in the description to this video. Please subscribe to my channel and tell others, and I appreciate it. Thank you.